Disney's adaptation of the Artemis Fowl book series can't possibly be that bad, can it? One of the many films forced to bypass theaters in favor of going straight to streaming in response to the COVID-19 lockdown, Artemis Fowl looked to be especially positioned to fill the massive void in the YA landscape with the absence of properties like Harry Potter and a handful of defiant white girl and dystopian future stories. The 8-book series, written by Irish author Owen Colfer, revolves around the exploits of Artemis Fowl II, a genius criminal mastermind whose exploits usually involve a list of supernatural creatures including goblins, trolls, fairies, elves, just to name a few. Played in this film by relative newcomer Farida Shah, Artemis discovers that not only is his father a notorious thief known around the world, but that all of the fairy tales and legends and folklore that his father has taught him about over the years are actually real. And now Artemis Fowl II must take on the mantle of becoming one of the greatest criminal masterminds the world has ever known. I don't even want to beat around the bush with you guys, because I can say almost unequivocally that Artemis Fowl has to be one of the worst films that I have seen this year. There's no question about it. And I went into this seeing some of the reviews that had already been coming out about it, talking about how terrible it was, and I had to think to myself, it couldn't possibly be that bad. But I am amazed, astounded, flabbergasted by how this film manages to so effortlessly crash land below my expectations, and I'm just kind of at a loss. It's no surprise that Disney has been trying to develop this into a film and hopefully into a whole new franchise since the first film was released back in 2001. So it comes as such a surprise, such a shock, that even with a director as talented as Kenneth Branagh, there are so many examples of shoddy filmmaking to the point that Artemis Fowl quite honestly fails on every conceivable level. Now, it's not like we haven't seen Kenneth Branagh sleepwalk his way through a directorial assignment before. Come on, let's look at the debilitatingly dull Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, for example. But the man still has enough talent and enough care to make you forget about maybe one of the most ludicrous mustaches ever put to film, to have you engaged and enthralled by his adaptation of Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. So I don't know what he was doing here, because I feel like he was going out of his way to make sure that this movie was as terrible and as poorly constructed as humanly possible. Using Josh Cad's character, Mulch Diggums, as your framing device / narrator for the entire film, spouting dialogue almost every 5 minutes whether it's needed or not, is not the best move, especially when you have the character sounding like he gargles motor oil and wood screws every morning. Anyway, the whole kidnapping of Artemis Fowl's father revolves around something called the Oculus, which is something that is supposed to be in the possession of the fairies who live at the center of the earth. For what reason, I don't know, and the film does a terrible job of making me try to care. There's this faceless villain named Opal who we learn absolutely nothing about across the entirety of the film. There's a police force of elves at the center of the earth, and the name of their police task force acronymizes to read out as Leprechaun because Ireland. Oh yes, if nothing else, this film wants you to know how Irish it is. It's very Irish. They really push the Irish folklore angle with this film, and that's understandable if that's the source material, but you have this whole thing where they're really trying to push it more than the audience really needs. Like, you're giving them enough just from the visuals. You don't have to tell us. You don't have to have this overwhelmingly Gaelic musical score that doesn't even fit the tone of the film from scene to scene. It's absolutely unnecessary, and it just feels very overbearing, as if they just don't want you to be reminded every 30 seconds. This is an Irish folklore fantasy film, and we want you to see how Irish it is. I get it. Just like, ease it back a bit. Like, you're at an 11 right now. I need you down at like a 5. Can we do that? Anyway, Artemis hatches this scheme to capture one of these leprechaun cops named Holly Short with the help of his butler, who actually is named Butler. That's his literal last name. Butler's niece, who has just enough screen time to be absolutely useless, and the aforementioned Mulch Diggums, who is a dwarf who is discriminated against by other dwarves because he is the height of your average adult human. Interactions between these characters occur with no real thought given to how they're shot, how they're edited, how they serve the story, and again, this is all just a testament to incredibly sloppy filmmaking. I am convinced that the scene where Artemis speaks face-to-face in the same room with the head of the Leprechaun Task Force, played by Judi Dench, did not in fact happen with both actors in the same room at the same time. It's that bad. There's not a single decent performance in Artemis Fowl. There is literally zero effort made to endear you to these characters, and the actors are conveying that with a toxically high level of apathy. I understand that Artemis Fowl in the books is supposed to be this arrogant, smarmy, smug, manipulative little pissant, but I don't feel like Farida Shah is really bringing enough to actually make this character interesting. And yes, a lot of this is the fault of the direction and the script, but also this is his first role, so I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack, even though he's displaying all of the charisma and appearance of a bobblehead. And again, I weep for Dame Judi Dench, because this woman should not have to do films like this. And like Mulch, they have her sounding like she gargles gasoline with Captain Crunch after smoking a pack of Newports as part of her complete breakfast. Why are you doing this to a national treasure? We also have to talk about the scope of this film, because you get the impression that Artemis Fowl is supposed to be this grand, sweeping epic of a film, and even some of the footage from the trailer showed Artemis and Butler kind of gallivanting outside of the confines of Fowl Manor, but so much of the action that takes place in the film is in the confines of this mansion. Like, the fate of both the human and the fairy worlds apparently hangs in the balance because of this Aculus, but all of the action takes place in some rich kid's front yard? Seriously? Roughly 80 to 95% of this film takes place just in that one central location. In short, Artemis Fowl is a nothing of a film. The characters and performances are bland. The story doesn't really pick up speed until the halfway mark, which is a bad thing when your film is only 90 minutes, and major plot points are resolved via Deus Ex MacGuffin. I can't help but be baffled and dumbfounded by the amount of money, time, and talent that was put into creating this film, all for it to amount to absolutely nothing. Your time would literally be better served sitting in the corner of a dark room with your eyes open, looking into the darkness. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you've got your own thoughts or opinions on Artemis Fowl that you would like to share, you can go ahead and leave a comment in the section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit that notification bell, share this video with your friends and family, and if you'd like to keep up to date on more at random videos, you can go ahead and click the subscribe button right over here.